I love speaking freely so the masses can hear what I have to say about different topics that plague my mind every day. Speaking freely with Ms Gigo is a show where I'm going to let all my thoughts come out and you can give your opinion too, 'cause you're speaking freely. Not only will I be speaking freely, I will be sharing my stories too, that will strike up a conversation. Speaking freely with Ms Gigo is a show where I'm going to let all my thoughts come out and you can give your opinion too, 'cause you're speaking freely. Come join me.
Good evening, people of the Nighthawk Network. It's your boy Uncle Ebuck. Without further ado, we are now speaking freely with your host, Road, aka Ms Gigo.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Speaking Freely. We're going to get right into it. You know, we got some great time. Modern, which one you think is better? Modern day or old school parenting? Which one you think is better when it comes to raising a child? Now, I created the video and I put it on TikTok to get people's opinion. Nobody responded, but when you do the video on TikTok, the AI video, it shows me. So if you could play that video when that I did on TikTok to ask the question, and you can see the AI people's response.
Today's parenting versus old school parenting. Which one is actually better?
Old school discipline kept kids in line.
Modern parenting raises emotionally healthy kids.
Why not both? Discipline and empathy, double win.
So when you saw the AI's people's response, one said old school, one said traditional. I mean, modern day, but I was like both. The AI me said both. What do you think? I say old school, but what do you think?
Okay, it's not as black and white as that, unfortunately. See, my initial answer would have been what you said, but I had to really think about this. Remember, when we do these questions, we oftentimes just looking at it from we are African American standpoint. But then we have to remember that we only represent a tenth of America, which is only a fourth of the world population. There are many different ways that people get parented this day and age in 2026. For what we may see as old school parenting here in America, that's pretty much either common practice in other countries or it might not even be tough enough in some of the other countries. You know what I'm saying? They may see what we consider to be old school parenting as soft as hell compared to how they do it now. The other thing I thought about is it also varies based upon your locale. I don't think you can raise a kid like you would over there in Jersey or here in Detroit the same way you raise a kid in, say, a rural farm town in Utah or somewhere out in Alaska, for example. I think the circumstances dictate an entirely different way of living. Think about it. Like, take that Alaska example. Let's say you live in Eubanks, Alaska, and it's basically the 400 kids, and that's it. That's all the kids around anywhere because Alaska is like there. It ain't near nothing else. So the only kids you're gonna interact with is them 400. And what you might need to know as a kid is that okay, life is cool, stay off the internet, but in the same token, if a polar bear run up on you, this is what you need to do for a polar bear. Here in Detroit, we ain't gotta worry about no damn polar bear. You see what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
so basically what I'm saying is the parenting is based upon the environment that the children are in and perhaps the people that that children is around. In other words, their village. In some cases, they literal village because in I'm sure parts of the world that kid got every parent. In other words, yeah, these the people that gave you life, but anybody in the village can tell you what to do. You see what I'm saying? If they
Mhm.
one of the elders, then you listen to the elder flat out. And if you don't, damn, I'm gonna whoop your butt. We gonna chop your hand off. You see what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
really think it depends on who you're talking to and where they at in that part of the world. Plus, I also got to say that because of the modern technology of everything, we can't old school raise the kids. They know too much. They smarter than we was as kids. I know we don't always like to acknowledge that, but because of modern technology, they on levels that at 8 and 9 we had no idea about. Think
Yeah.
about it, bro. As
You
kids,
right.
it was credit cards as kids, right? Did you know about credit cards at 8 and 9?
No.
I didn't either. But these kids not only know about credit cards, they got the ability to take the numbers and type it in and order their roadblocks, they Robux or they stuff off Amazon, they damn self. Some of these kids got their own credit card at 8 and 9. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to tell a
Mhm.
kid no, don't do that when they could turn around and do that.
Yeah. For me, I pose this question because I've seen a lot of videos where kids talking back to the parent, and even when we was growing up, that was not allowed. Us talking back to any adult. When adults are having a conversation, what do they say? Go in the other room because adults are having a conversation, or they tell you to stay in the child's place.
No, they tell you that the
You know,
first time. The second time ain't no
and that's the
discussion.
only they. Yep. If they have to tell you more than once, you know what's gonna happen. And you've seen videos of kids that's in the supermarket with their parents, and they having a temper tantrum because they can't have nothing, and the parent just let them have their temper tantrum and not do anything, and the other people behind them could be there online or people behind them while they're shopping is looking like, I wish you would do something to shut this kid up, but the parent ain't doing nothing, just letting the kid have that tantrum. Or they'll say when you get home, you're gonna sit in the corner. Sit in the corner, don't do nothing. Cause they still gonna be having that temper tantrum while they're in the corner. So it's still gonna be loud as like they were in the supermarket, and it's annoying when the kids whine. It gets annoying when the kids start whining and they whine for no reason or that fake cry because they got yelled at. They do that fake cry. So cause growing up, like you did something wrong, you got disciplined. So my sister used to tell my nieces and nephews because I when they was young, that's when they started doing those commercials that tell you could call a excuse me, yeah, that you can call CPS if if your parent is abusing you, you could call CPS. Well, in New York, they changed the name from CPS to ACS, and my sister worked for them, so she would tell her kids, "Go ahead and call them. Make sure you spell my name right." She would say, "Go ahead and call ACS, CPS. It still might be called CPS or DCFS where you at." And she would say, "Make sure you spell my name right when you call them." When they did something wrong, they got a beating. That's what she would say.
Okay,
And
now,
that to me,
uh,
that's kind of like that old school. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Part of that old school parenting.
But see, again, we got to consider the 2026 of it, bro. Okay, let's just say, for example, you done nutted up on your child, okay? You didn't beat their butt, threw them in a corner somewhere, told them shut up and don't move till I tell you to, okay? In this world of ours where a lot of these homes got
Hmm.
indoor cameras that record everything, that's been recorded. Your semi-brilliant 8-year-old child realizes that, oh, this on tape. I'm about to say this recording and send it to somebody to let them see that I'm getting abused. Now, in your mind as the parent, you ain't abused that child. You just hit him a few times and threw him in the corner, okay? But the way it look on camera, it looked like you fucked him up pretty good. And that child then took this recording and put it on their phone and in school showing the counselor, yeah, my mama beat me. Look, now CPS then got called. You know it was just basic whooping A, but it looked like you was abusing
Hmm.
your child. And then that child come with a whole different story than what it
Yep.
actually was. Now you in trouble. How do you
Yep.
navigate that right now as an old school parent?
Yeah. And also I've been seeing, you right. And also I've been seeing videos where the kid do wrong, the parent discipline them, and they post it to they videotape it and post it to social media, and to I guess it's to embarrass their child so they won't do the act again. But you showing something your child did that you had to discipline them for on social media don't make things better and make it worse. This is what and these are
I mean,
modern
yeah, because all
parents
right, let's
doing
just
it.
say you do that, right? But in some of these cases, like you pointed out, you go to the comments and you thinking the people gonna be on your side, and they is not.
Right.
They saying you the one wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong because you embarrass your child enough. Like I get it if your child stole something, you say, "Oh, I'm doing this because you stole something." But okay, but it doesn't need to be posted to. If it got videotaped, it don't need to be posted to social media. And I think a lot of people do it. I think some. I'm not gonna say some people do. I think for the clicks and views. I think that's why they post it to social media because they know it's gonna give them clicks and views.
Right, because remember, the average parent maybe 30 years ago was in their 30s. The average parent now in their 20s.
Yep. But I still agree with the old school parenting. Let us know in the comments, what you are modern day parent when it comes to disciplining your kid, Are you old school like how you was disciplined by your parents when you was growing up? Do you do that with your kids? Let us know in the comments for those who are tuned in.
Yeah, because
Cause
again, I say it depends on environment and tone. But I will say, because we're talking to two people who aren't parents, you ain't got no kids that I know about, do you? I mean, yeah,
no,
we
I don't have
uncles
any
and
kids.
aunties and stuff that don't count. What I'm saying is, it seems like the best parenting situations that I see out here are those where the parent is actively involved in all aspects of their child's life and that they have a very good rapport with them in terms of communication. Because a lot of these parents back in the day in our environments, they basically told kids stuff, but they didn't explain why they said what they said. I just said don't do it. Because I said so, it's not a good explanation. That's why some of those kids in our era grew up to be how they grew up. But now I think it's
Yep.
worse because a lot of these parents don't properly communicate with their kids. You know, our parents taught us don't do that, that's wrong. They may not fully explain why it was wrong. These parents, they're not saying nothing. Unless somebody say something to their child, in which case they nut up then. Don't speak on my baby.
Yeah, there's a situation of that going around on TikTok right now. The woman had a party for her 13-year-old daughter, and all the little girls were dressed. Well, the birthday girl had the pink shirt on, and wherever they went for, wherever the mother placed the mother booked, I guess it's like they did like a spa type of thing for the little girls, and the little birthday girl had on the pink shirt, and her friends had on the same black. Their shirts were black, but it was the same type of shirt, and people were coming at the mother talking about what the daughter had on, that she shouldn't have had it on for her age. But the thing is, she's a big girl, right? So like they would say for a young boy who's big, they say husky. You can go to a clothing store and find husky clothes for a boy, but you can't find clothes for a girl who was growing and is big. She could be big in the top area, big in the back area, but she's big for her age. And you're not going to be able to find clothes that's age appropriate in these stores because they don't think of young girls who grow up with having, at a young age having a shape on their body. They don't think about that.
Okay,
Designers don't think
again,
about that.
I think
And I think
that goes back to the environment you grew up in. If that young girl, for instance, lives in, say, a Detroit or Chicago or New York, where there's a variety of different options you have in terms of going shopping for clothes, that's one thing. But if you grew up in an environment and y'all got Walmart and that's pretty much it, then yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Environment definitely is a key in
but
this store.
the people in when the mother posted, she posted her daughter celebrating her birthday. People were coming at her in the comments talking about she shouldn't have put that whatever she put on her daughter, she shouldn't have put it on her. And then I saw one person make a response video and said, I was that girl's age and I started filling out early in age, meaning she said around like 8 years old she started getting. By the time she was 13, she was already at a triple D. So for those who know, for those who know bra sizes, that is big, especially for a young person to be at a triple D in bra sizes.
I
That
mean,
that
I
that is
understand D is big, period, for anybody of any
right.
side. So triple D, that's a whole nother story.
And
So
for her to be that young,
right, but
a lot of
again,
girls.
going back to the subject, parenting style, okay. If you have but so many options in terms of what you can dress that child in, there's that. But see, another problem we have now is that there are many people who can weigh in as to what's going on in your house, depending on how you set your household up. If your household is a TikTok
Hmm.
house where y'all TikTok and put a lot of y'all personal business on there where people can go back and comment, remember, some of them things may get hundreds of thousands of views. More times than not, the people that are going to comment aren't the people that agree with you, it's the people that don't. And more times than not, they're saying the most salacious things they could think of is because they want that comment to stick out. Because again, we live in a world of likes and views right now. So even if they don't really feel like that, they may say that just because we know some people gonna sit there like, "Ooh, yeah, I agree with that," blah 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 blah. And then if they get enough people that check mark that comment, they say, "Oh yeah, let me do a response video because I got some good responses on my comment." So basically, it's the loud minority that tends to run a lot of what it appears people think. Because, like I said, more times than not, if you agree with that person, more times than not, you're not gonna put that positive comment on there. And if you do, ain't too many people gonna really respond to that one per se, unless you say it kind of in a neck roll type of way, you know.
Hmm.
I think the
But in this,
majority of people in this country, regardless of what ethnicity you are decent parents at the most. You know what I'm saying? They do a good job.
hmm
I just think it's a lot of parents that don't. And those parents, unfortunately, are the ones we got to highlight because in the end, it's their kids that become the school shooter. You see what I'm saying?
hmm but in this situation, I was talking about the TikTok when she posted the first video, the people in the comments was coming after the daughter. She's 13. You grown. You a grown person in somebody's comments talking about their child and thinking that the mother's not going to come back and respond. And she did. She made a response video because people were coming at her daughter in the first video. And I guess people were seeing that video. And that's why I was saying the woman who made a response video was saying she's on the mother's side, saying that, yeah, some young girls develop early and there are no clothes for them when they develop early. She said when she was her age, the woman's daughter's age, she was there was a clothing store called Rainbow, and you can get some nice stuff out there for cheap, like 10. It'd be like get you a nice shirt or a nice outfit, shirt and pants, maybe about the most you pay would be about $15 because the pants could be 5, the shirt could be 10. And there was another store called Denise, but it was spelled Danice, and that's same thing like Rainbow. That you can get you something for like $10. It was on the cheap, but you can get. But these are stuff that was geared to older women, like young. I would say young adults, older women, but like she's young, and these kids these days are developing faster than we did when we was younger. You understand what I'm saying? And there's nothing for them. Like she can't find some. She's not. Make Old Navy might have something that her daughter could wear that makes her still look like a little kid. But there's some, like you said, Eve. You in an area where they only have a Walmart. There may not be nothing there that you could find that was as a clothes that would still make her look like a little kid. So let us know in the comments what's your what You go with the modern day parenting style. You go with the old school parenting style, like how you was raised. Let us know in the comments. Now,
One more time for those of y'all that's not fully understand what we're talking about. We talked about this video that we made earlier in regard to the subject.
Today's parenting versus old school parenting. Which one is actually better?
Old school discipline kept kids in line.
Modern parenting raises emotionally healthy kids.
Why not both? Discipline and empathy, double win.
Okay, so yeah, in the comments, please weigh in as to what you think is the better
so that's
parenting
what that was my
style, or
first
just your
topic.
opinions on parenting.
Because, like I said, once kids found out that, now that it's called, well, depending on where you are and what state you are. In New York, it's called ACS. Out here, I think it's called DCFS. But once they started giving out numbers for telling kids, if you being abused by your parent, you can call this number. Kids, kids was using that number only in their parents' phrase to think they was gonna get out of the trouble they put themselves in. They thought that was a way out for them by saying, "Yeah, if you put your hands on me, I'm calling CPS." Da, da, da. I Like I said, I told you what my sister said when the kids was growing up. She said, "Call them, and make sure you spell my name right," because she worked for them. So it's like, make sure you spell my name right. And I bet you, if they did call, the person who's answering the phone probably would know my sister and be like, "I don't believe," even though they got to make the report, but still in all, in their mind, they probably think, "I don't think she did that." You know how some people, when, you know, in that situation, people like, "Now, I don't think she's like that," but some people are like that. Like she said, make sure you spell my name right. I probably would have said this. If I probably would have said the same thing, even though I didn't work for them. I probably would have said the same thing. Make sure you spell my name right, because you are not going to misbehave and think you're going to get away with it. And thinking about getting away with it is saying to me as a parent, "I'm gonna call CPS."
Okay, let me say
Nope.
this. Do you feel the primary job of every parent is to raise a good, well adjusted, well rounded human being?
Yes.
Should that human being basically be educated and stay out of trouble with the law?
Ye- yes, but not. Yes, they
Okay,
should,
now,
but it doesn't always happen that way.
true. Now, considering those as criteria, when we look at our prison systems and see who are the majority of people currently incarcerated, when we look at our education system and see the rates of graduation for different races, for different people, whether they be male or female, do we use that as a basis to determine who's a good parent and who's not?
A good parent is still your child could do wrong. You can be the best parent in the world, and still your child could do wrong. And most of these parents, when they find out that quote unquote good child they claim to have does something wrong, what do they say? "Oh, not my child," and their child is in trouble, and
All right, people, we have lost Road. Oh, she's back. Hold on, guys. Hold on. All right, Road.
So yeah, they say, "Oh, not my child. My child is a good kid." Yeah, every parent says their child is a good kid until their child turn out to be Norman Bates. Every person says that until their child turns out to be Norman Bates or Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's saying your child is a good kid and knowing your child is a good kid. If you are a parent and you don't communicate with your child on pretty much a daily basis and get to know them as a person, understand that even at the youngest of ages, kids have feelings and understanding and so on and so forth. If you don't get that part of being a parent, then I don't think it matters what style of parenting you choose. It ain't gonna work.
Well, for me, when I was younger, I didn't have a curfew, but I knew during school days I needed to be in the house by 8 o'clock. I had that much of a leeway from my parents that I knew on school days I had to be in the house by 8 o'clock. When it was the weekend, I didn't have no curfew, really. But I'm not one of them kids like, oh, because my parents ain't set a curfew time that I can stay out all night. No, just because your parents ain't set a curfew time don't mean you can stay out all night.
Right. Now
But
conversely,
but where I
Roll.
lived, but where I lived was a complex. It was closed in, so
Hmm.
it was closed in. So it's like we could sit outside. Our parents know where we were. We were outside. They could look through the window and see us. Now,
Right.
if I lived like in the projects, that's a different story. I would have definitely had. I think I definitely would have had a curfew and would have had to be in the house at a certain time. School days, I was told 8 o'clock. I couldn't during the week. I couldn't go out until my chores. Couldn't go outside until my chores was done. And I followed the rules. I would be pissed because my brothers were older than me and they got to go outside and not have to do no chores, and I couldn't go out till my chores was done.
Well, see
That's the
again.
only thing that pissed me off about growing up is not. And by the time I finished my chores, depending on what they were, it's like half of get out of school, what, 3 o'clock. So from three, because normally either I had to do the dishes or I had to clean the bathroom. And I hated doing the dishes and cleaning the bathroom because you gotta clean the bath because we had two bathrooms. One had the tub in it, the other one was just the sink and the toilet. I always had to clean the one that had the tub, and I hated that. It was easy cleaning the bathroom with just the sink and the toilet. That don't take long to clean that. But then, now when you gotta clean the bathroom, the one with the tub in it, you gotta clean the tub. Then you gotta go to the toilet. Then you gotta go to the sink. So that was a lot, and it took up a lot of time. It wasn't for me like you can't go out till your homework is done. Nope. It was you can't go out till your chores is done. So I'd be in the house doing chores and look out the window and see my friends outside playing in the park, and I'd be mad because I'm upstairs and I gotta do my chores until and by the time I go out, it's close to like it's close to like maybe 4:30, maybe close to 5 o'clock till I get outside because of the damn chores. Because you get out of school, what, 3 o'clock? And my school was right like diagonally across the street from where I lived. It was right behind my building. You could see my school from my building. Like if you lived in the back side of my building, you could see the school diagonally across the street. So 3 o'clock, walking home, and we had a back door on our building that we could go through to get into the building instead of going all the way around. We would go through the back door, and that's how sometimes coming from school, go to the back door, then I gotta go upstairs, and I lived on the fifth floor. It's not like I lived on the first floor. Nope. I lived on the fifth floor. So guys, get off at get out of school at 3. While you walking down the block, I'll say by 3:15 I should be at the back of my maybe about 3:15, maybe a little bit more than that. I should be at the back of my building. By the time I get upstairs, it's 3:30. Now I gotta start my chores and do my homework
All right, can we
so that I
acknowledge
can
our
relax
brother Hugh
before I
here?
can go outside.
What's going on, Hugh? What's good with you, my guy?
That's the what's up, Hugh? That and I hated that because soon as my brothers would come in, because they was in high school by the time they was already starting like starting high school already. So like when they came in, they could just go right back out if they wanted to. Nope, not me. I couldn't go out till I did my chores, and I hated that. Your mother ever did that to you, E? Told you couldn't go out till your chores was done.
Understand we had a different household here. On the one hand, my mother had rules, but on the other hand, I was the person to either live by or enforce said rules since I was the oldest. So yeah, there were chores, but in the end, my mother really didn't give a damn who did them as long as it got done. So more times than not, in order for me not to be in trouble, I end up doing everything. So there was that problem. Second, my mother basically had a curfew for everybody in the house. It's basically to be in the house before the street lights came on. Now, once you was in the house, keep in mind, depending on what child you were, you had a different set of rules in and of itself. For example, my brother, he had a bedtime. It was about 9:30, okay? Because he did not like to get up in the morning. And because of that, he had a bedtime. Basically, since like 7 years old, I did not have a bedtime. I could go to bed whenever I chose. And then keep in mind, from the age of 9 on, I had my own TV. And I believe I was 10 when I got my own room. At that point, I could be up as late as I wanted to. And oftentimes was. That's the advantage that a lot of kids my age did not have. So since I grew up in the time of Johnny Carson and Arsenio Hall, I would watch those things because I would be up. While most kids my age was not allowed to be up during them times. Again, that worked for my household. That probably didn't work for every household.
So we had a TV in the living room. I'm trying to remember. Did I have a TV in my room? At first, no, but then after a while, I did have a TV in the room. But I would always watch the TV in the living room because you have cable. We had this before this before cable was a thing. Remember the HBO boxes? The only way to watch
Hmm.
HBO
Yeah,
is the box. We
yeah.
had that.
We called it on TV.
We had that. So I would watch HBO. That'd be my thing, and we had a TV, so I would fall asleep watching TV in the living room. And plus, I never was out late. Like I said, my curfew for school when it's school time, 8 o'clock you gotta be upstairs. But sometimes I went up at 8, or I was upstairs before 8 o'clock because the people I was hanging with, most of them had to be up upstairs already. Had to go up. My friend, she had like you know how they say when your parents say you had to be home before the street lights come on. She was one of them. Her she was staying with her grandmother, and her grandmother was that way. You had to be upstairs before the street. She was the first one to have to go upstairs before everybody. And sometimes there really was nobody outside, so I would come out, go to the store, go right back upstairs, or go chill at a friend's house. Other than that,
And
If
again,
nobody was outside, I was upstairs watching TV.
right. Another thing that comes into play in how I was raised was that the first half of my childhood, we had babysitters. So basically, my mother worked during the day. So it was a time where she had to be to work by 8. We had to be up at 6 so we could be at the babysitters at 7 so my mother could make it to work on time because she worked way downtown and then way out in Troy. Then, as I got old enough, we became latchkey kids, where basically my mother would leave to go to work early, and it was my responsibility to make sure everybody got up and got dressed and was off to wherever they needed to be off to. My little brother would get dropped off at my auntie's house, and me and my brother would be at the house, and I had to make sure we get up and went to school and all of that. Then I had to be the first one to get home so I could have everything ready for when everybody got home. Again, it depends on your environment and what the situation is.
So yeah, out of all my siblings, I'm the youngest. And so I would be the one you drop. Either I be the one you dropping off. I'll be the one you dropping off to your auntie's house. Cause I'm the youngest out of all my siblings.
All right. So again, not getting any commentary on this subject. We gonna keep it going or we gonna move on to the next one?
So we going to the next, and that question was, when did you know you was ready for love? And if you could play the video that go along with the topic, then I will give my commentary after the video.
Today's big
Uh,
question: when did you know you were ready for love?
I knew it when I stopped saving the last slice of pizza for myself and handed it over without even thinking.
Drop your answer in the comments below.
well, for me, I guess when did I know? And it's crazy to think about. The the I know when you young, you don't consider it love, but when you're young, you consider it puppy love because the person you like is older than you. But when you're old enough to date and have a relationship, you know, for me, it's that I think for me is that love at first sight. Like when you see the person and all of a sudden you instantly feel something for that person. That's when I knew. But then you date that person and it don't work out and you start thinking to yourself, is love really for you? And then you meet someone else and then you get that same feeling all over again. Not It's not no love at first sight thing, but you get those feelings all over again, and it's like, okay, you be like, this is what love is, and then that is like now at this age now, I'm not even thinking about being in love, having a relationship. If it's supposed to happen, it will happen. But for me, when I knew I really was in love with someone, was a love at first sight situation. What was it for you, E, when you knew you was ready for love?
First of all, I gotta answer that question with a question. Is there a universal definition of love as you are explaining it at the moment?
I'm sure it might be. I, I'm sure there's many people who could say it was for them. They could say it was love. They knew they was ready for love because it was love. Whoever that person was that you know you interacted with. Something stirred inside of you to be like, yeah, I want to be with this person.
Okay, so first of all, I would say there's categories of love. We're not talking about but one specific category. So yeah, we do need to define that much. You're saying love in terms of when you know you were ready to be in love. Now, the universal definition for most of us is, and when somebody say they in love, that means they are in some type of relationship type love. They're not in a friendship type love. They're not in love with their puppy. They're not in love with a job or anything like that. This is an actual relationship love. So if we answering the question, when did you know you were ready for love as a young person or even now? My answer is I'm not sure that I ever really knew or that I know now.
Okay.
I base that on simple facts. Today is what? August 3rd, 2026. Am I single? Yes. Have I been married? No. Have I come close to being married? Yes. Do I have any children? No. Do I currently have any great desire to be with anybody romantically? No. There are points where I actually debate in my mind at age 55 if I ever would feel that way about it. As I examine my past relationships, the way I feel at this moment is way different than what I felt in that moment. And knowing how I feel now, because I got to base it on how I feel now, I realize a lot of times when I thought I was ready for love or I was in love, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I wasn't in love at all. And more importantly, most of the people that I thought I was in love with was not worthy of said love that I offered. Now, I feel like based on how deep you feel this love feeling, it affects how a lot of people live their lives. If you were set up the way I am right now in terms of that, you looking at what I'm saying and you saying, "Oh, that's so sad. You don't have nobody to love." Poor E. E sitting here like, we good. I'd rather have money for these bills right now. I would love that more than being in love. Now, if I had somebody to share my circumstance with or whatnot, okay, maybe a little better. I mean, we as human beings, I feel like are built to be involved with another human being and to be equally yoked, as the Bible say. But in the same token, some of us, over the course of time, we have developed some type of immunity to those type of feelings, to where we good. I think about people that's my age that's in prison right now. Okay, been there for years. Technically, they probably don't get a chance to be in love, or they might be in love with somebody that look like them. That's a whole nother conversation. We ain't going there. But what I'm saying is, in those circumstances, you may not be set up to be in a relationship as prisoner 2278 dot double dash 8. Or you may be in my situation where, okay, we could be in love, but I can afford but to do this, this, and this for you. Is that good enough? And based on how some people define what they want from somebody they love, they may look at that like, oh hell no, you a broke boy. You broke. I ain't messing with you. And on the other end, I look at it like, okay, I can't afford you. You don't have no money. You ain't working at all. I can't deal with you because I could barely afford myself. So a lot of those types of thoughts come into play when people say, are you ready for love? I think as young people, it's more of a feeling. We feel like, ooh, I like this person. I like being around them all day, every day. I'm in love with them. And that's how we define it. Or like, ooh, I like this person. When I see they little booty in them shorts, I be feeling some type of way in my underwear. I love them. That ain't love.
That's not love.
But in that moment, that's what we feeling. We feel like it's love. Cause I don't nobody else make me feel like that in my underwear but her. Or vice versa. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I go back to the original question of the question. What is that universal thing that is love? Where we know, okay, what that person talking about is definitely them being in love.
Yep, you're right. But some, like you said, like the person call you broke. But you can't. We have to stop bait. People who have these so-called standards. Your standards is wrong if you call in. If he has a job and he's able to pay his own bills, where his he broke at? Just because he can't afford to take you to expensive restaurants that you don't take yourself to, don't mean he broke. Cause I saw a video on TikTok. The girl the girl told the dude he was broke, and she said it because he wouldn't pay for her and her friend's meal. She brought her friend on the date, and because he wouldn't pay for her and her friend's meal, she said she said, well, if you're broke, just say that. He said, I ain't broke. But she called him broke because he wouldn't pay for her and her friend's meal. He is there to go on a date with her. I get it, you can't trust everybody who you meet. You don't know what type of person they are, and they ask you out on a date and you accept. But I think she was accepting because she was accepting for a free meal. You got women like that. And you could say there's men like that too, who get asked out on a date, and the only reason why they accept it is because they're getting a free meal. Not because they want to get to know the person who's taking them out on a date. They doing it because they're getting a free meal. And a lot of these women it be young girls. I won't even say women. It be young girls who calling these men broke because they won't pay. Yeah, I invited you on a date to get to know you. Yes, I took you to a restaurant. That doesn't mean you go order the most expensive thing on the menu and expect me to pay for it. She ordered what? I think it was a surf and turf meal. It was steak and a lobster tail. That's what she ordered for herself, and I think her friend ordered the same thing. And when it was time to pay for the bill, she looked at him and like that daisical look, like, and he's like, "I'm not paying for that." He's like, "I'm not paying for you and your friend." Then I seen it, and he shouldn't have to pay. You gotta say ahead of time, right? You gotta say ahead of time that your friend is tagging along for safety reasons. There was a video of the girl brought her friend along, like her and the guy was already. I guess they at the mall. And you know how some malls have movie theater inside the mall, and they were going to eat and I think to go see a movie. She invites her friend. She claimed it's for safety reasons, but she didn't tell him ahead of time. She waited until they were actually on the date, and her friend shows up to be like, "Oh, she's here for safety, for my safety." And I'm watching this video, and I'm like, she's there for your safety, But usually, when back in the day when when as girls when we used to do that, we would tell our friend exactly what restaurant we gonna be at, have them come to the restaurant, or if it's a coffee shop, wherever the date is, and have them like sit in the distance where they can see us, where the friend can see us on the date, but I can't see them to notice that they're there, so that he wouldn't be suspicious that I got somebody keeping an eye out, just in case he do something crazy. Then nope, she ain't say nothing. She ain't let this man know ahead of time that her friend would be joining for safety reasons. But when they decided what they was gonna eat, she was telling him he was gonna pay for the friend. He was like, no, I'm not paying for the friend. I'm on this date to get to know you, not to pay for you and your friend. But like I said, these young girls these days is doing it for a free meal. And then when the person realizes what they up to, they like, nah, I'm not paying for it. And like I seen the TikTok video, the friend is on this. She's like they sitting across from each other on the date. The friend is like a little diagonal across from the friend, and he looked. He's like, I'm not paying for that. He got up from the table, left them two there, and was like, he left them there sitting at the table. A- And I'm sure you probably seen this video, E. And this was long, like I think last year or maybe 2 years ago, where the friend was having a birthday dinner, and she invited all these people, and the girl came with her husband. Now everybody's ordering what they want to order. Expensive that they ordered expensive drinks, expensive stuff off the menu. It came time to pay for the check. The husband said, "I'm on." The husband made it clear, "I'm paying for the birthday girl and my wife. Since it's her birthday, I'm gonna pay for her meal and my wife." One of the girls at the table was like, "Because you the only man at the table, you should pay for everybody's meal." Said because he's the only man at the table that he should pay for everybody's meal. And then they turned to his wife to see that she would agree with them. She was like, no. The wife didn't agree. She said, no. He's paying for my meal, his meal, and the birthday girl. That's it. And they was like really having a fit because he wouldn't pay the bill. And the bill turned out to be a $700 bill, E. A $700 bill because they was ordering. I think they had either bottles of wine or champagne at the table. Like I said, the expensive thing on the menu is what? Seafood and steak. And when you combine them together as a surf and turf, that's gonna be real expensive. And that bill came up to $700. And they all looked at him like, because he's the only man at the table, they expected him to pay the whole bill. He said no, paying for my wife's meal and the birthday girl. That's it. Whoever the birthday girl had, somebody was a person sitting next to the birthday girl, and then the other friends that she invited, that they all these group of friends, and it was like the birthday girl even got pissed because he wouldn't pay the whole bill, and she got up and she left with her friend and left the other girls at the table with the lady and her husband, still arguing about who's gonna pay this $700 bill. He said, "No, I'm only paying for my wife's meal and the birthday girl. That's it. Everybody else." And that's what I'm saying. Like you going on a date with somebody, you picking the most expensive thing on the menu, and all you there for is to get to know the person. You and a lot of these young girls is doing it for a free meal.
I'm about to say something that some people are not going to particularly like, but this is the way I really see it. That's a black thing. That's a black thing. White people don't do that. Asian people don't do that. Indian people, African people, pick a nationality. They don't play them type of games. Okay, either they go in there with the understanding that as a collective, everybody's going to team up and pay for the birthday girl's meal, or they all gonna pay a certain amount, or they go in there saying, okay, I got my own money, let's all pay our separate meal, and that's that. Only and okay, I really want to go there with it. I'm not about to, but it's on a certain type of black person that play
Hmm.
those type of games. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
I'm
We
picking up
call
what you're
them
putting down, and it's like you.
again when we have these discussions, we got to kind of separate the herd sometimes. That I mean, we talked about that on Dish T, that very subject with that very video. That's why I remember that. But long story short is, um, Pat didn't have any girls in his household, but I'm pretty sure the same rule would apply. Whenever you go out with somebody, if you don't have enough money for what you're eating, you don't order that unless you are
Right.
with one of your custodial parents. Period. And in the end, as the custodial parent, if we at say Red Lobster, and I'm sitting there talking about I want a lobster and lobster tail and steak, Patricia Ann gonna be like, you ain't getting all that. I know you can eat all that, but I can't afford all that. So
You
no, you're not
right.
ordering that. I'm paying for what you're ordering, but it won't be that. And that was established when I was ordering. So if you went in there playing some type of game, thinking you was about to get over on the system and you didn't, that's on you. I'm just saying.
And I recently just seen a video. The guy went on a date with this woman, and it was the get to know you type of date. They at a restaurant. They done had their meal, right? She orders 3 extra plates, right? And she told the waiter, "Hello, Joseph." So she told the waiter to put it in to go boxes. Dude sat there across at her and looked at her like, "I'm not paying for this. We're on a date to get to know each other." She was saying, "Oh, these extra plates is for my kids. You telling me I can't order food to feed my kids?" He said, "No, I didn't say you couldn't order food to feed your kids. What I'm saying is, I'm not paying for it. You can order whatever you want. I'm not paying for it." And she kept going back and forth with dude, thinking she gonna wear him down, or he gonna be like, not that wear him down and be like he gonna and think he was still gonna pay for it. He was like, "No, I didn't ask you to order this. You decided to order this for your children. It is not my obligation to pay for food that you're ordering for your kids. And we on the date trying to get to know each other."
Okay, so this taking us down several rabbit holes, but the initial question was, when do you know you were ready for love? I know one thing, I would not be ready for love if them the type of games that that person that's dating me is playing, where they trying to get their friends to get
And
paid
she
for
and the woman
or
in
their
this
kids to get paid for without it being a discussion before the order was even made. I know I don't love
and
neither one of them.
the woman in this story, she's grown. It ain't like it's a young girl trying to get over on dude. No, she's a grown woman trying to get over, talking about this is for my kids and my kids at home. Yeah, you went out on a date with said man
Okay, Ro,
Knowing you got,
I'm about to go there
knowing
again.
you gonna have somebody
What
watch your
was the
kids,
ethnicity
you
of this
telling
young
me the
lady?
person watching your kids didn't feed your kids. So you saying I'm while I'm on this date, I'm gonna get my kids food. Ain't the person watching them supposed to be feeding them
Ro,
if they're young? But if they're
Ro,
teenage age, they can feed themselves.
Ro. What was the
Yeah.
ethnicity of this young lady? Is
Black.
this something that most people that look like us would do? No. Only a certain type of people
No.
that look like us. Yeah, I'm going there again.
Cause like, I'm the type. You ask me out on a date and you want to get to know me, I'm gonna say okay. And if you tell me I get to choose the restaurant, 9 out of 10, I'm choosing a restaurant I've never been to.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you
Like,
choose the restaurant. I'm gonna let you choose what you eat. But I'm gonna let you choose what you eat, not your kids, not your friends.
no, I would never go out on a date, sit there with the date, eat my food, and then go in, before we head out, order 3 extra plates for children I don't have. There was one video I saw that was just like that one. She ordered extra food. She claimed it was for her kids, but I think somebody followed up on the story, and I think the girl had a man, and she was really ordering food for to take back to her man, not her kids. She was ordering the food to take back to her man. She said in the video she was it was for her kids, and that the dude she was on a date with supposed to pay for it. But I think somebody did a follow up on that story, and I think they said that it was really for her man, not for her kids. That she that the man that the guy she was seeing let her go on the date, and she was bringing food back for him. You- and seeing stuff like that for people who want, I think seeing stuff like that for people who want to fall in love make you not want to fall in love. Because for a man, I could see him saying, if the women in the dating pool is like this, I might as well stay out of the pond. If the women in the dating pool is like, I might as well stay out of the pool, because I do not want to put myself in a situation where she's using me for a free meal, or if it's a woman, he's using me for a free meal.
I will quote the great Mary J. Blige. Don't want nobody else. I can do bad all by myself.
Yep, yep, could do battle by myself. So if you got an answer for the question, when did you know you was ready for love?
Okay, that is the second question. Now, Rose, since we got a little extra time, can we actually get into a couple of the questions that people have sent in? Because remember last week you asked them if they had some things that they would like to discuss as a topic
Oh, we could do
they
that
sent in.
if you got a question,
Okay, I have a
we can
couple
do that.
actually. The first one came to me from one of the people in the Nighthawk Network. They basically talked about last week. There was a man who was convicted for a crime that his son committed. Basically, his child was one of the school shooters, and the school shooter child got convicted and was sentenced to life in prison without
Mhm.
parole. His father,
Mhm.
days later, was also sentenced to 15 years in prison for his role in what happened with the school shooter, basically giving him access to the gun, or at least not denying him access of said gun that he bought for.
Mhm.
So this raised a greater question for this individual. She asked, now that we have established that parents can be prosecuted for what their children do in terms of these school shootings, should we now in turn make that across the board? In other words, if your child F's up and ends up getting convicted of a crime and has to do any type of time, should you as a parent automatically get time as well?
For me in this situation, it depends on what the crime is. It depends on what the crime is. Like he, when they say to parents, if you have a gun in the house, you're supposed to have it locked up where your child cannot get access to it. And if your child's able to get access to it, and you know that, they make in this case they making the parent accessory to the crime, even though they didn't help commit the crime. Technically, they did because they gave said what the kid had access to said weapon to commit the crime. So basically, they're making the parent the accessory to the crime. And for me, it depends on the type of crime that the child has committed. If the parent should serve time as well. Now,
Okay.
if your kid and another kid at school had a fight and the child got beat up badly, I don't think the parent should go to jail for that. It's two kids having a fight. Yeah, some people go too far sometimes with fighting, but I don't think the parent. If it's a fist fight, no. If a weapon was involved, like in this school shooting case, I would say yeah. But if it's just two kids having a fist fight, and that kid lost the fight, got beat up real bad. If it's a bullying situation, and you knew your kid was being a bully, and you didn't tell him to stop, and it went too far, and it hurt a kid real bad, yes, because you was told your child was being a bully. You didn't do nothing to stop your child from being a bully, and look what the results of that happened. They injured the child real bad.
Okay, I agree with Ro. It depends on what the crime is. However, in talking about that, there's slippery slopes. For example, let's just say that the two kids did get in a fight, and during the fight, the kid slips, busts his head, busts it wide open, and he dies. Now, clearly, that child did not intend on killing that child in that moment, but
Hmm.
it happened. Let's say as a result, because there was a murder involved, they decided to give that child, say, 10 years for secondary murder or whatever. Or no, that probably would be manslaughter. Okay. Now,
Hmm.
because somebody involved died and that was your child, should you automatically get time because of that? In that case, I say no. Because it's not like you told your child to go to school and kill people. It's not like, let's just say you taught your child how to fight to protect themselves. And it just so happened that in that fight, the kid caught him with a good one and he busted his head wide open as he fell. That ain't something you probably taught your child to do. So, no, in that case, you should not go to jail. But okay, let's switch
No.
it up. There was a case recently where a young lady received a text from her boyfriend. They both are 11 years old. That text was like, I would like to see what you look like with no clothes on. And the young lady obliged the young man by sending him a picture of her with no clothes on. Now, the phone was checked by the parent who periodically checked the phone to see what was going on and found said text and said photos. And of course, was instantly upset because she
Hmm.
wanted to know why this child is asking her child for naked photos. They in turn said, okay, we about to do the right thing and take this on down to the authorities and report it with the intention that no, they did not necessarily want that child to get into the type of trouble where they go to prison, but they wanted that child to be reported as, yeah, this kid asking my kid for naked pictures. Now, understand, one, that child, after getting a naked picture, sent a naked picture in return of himself. Okay. Now, what happens is they go down to
Mm-hmm.
there, they report it, the lawyers and stuff get involved. In the end, the child who got the picture of his girlfriend, he was charged. The girlfriend who sent the picture, she was charged. The parent who reported it also was charged. It was seen as being child pornography. So the parent was charged with their child possessing child pornography, and also the parent was charged with the child distributing child pornography. Because keep in mind, in her making said picture of herself and sending it to him with her with her consent, she in turn technically made child porn. So actually, the child who sent the picture in the first place got in more trouble than the actual kid himself who got the picture and then sent it back to her. Now, all that being said, if they basically get those kids jail time, and of course they did not get jail time, they was 11, okay? But let's just say you did decide they need to be locked up in juvie for 120 days. Should that parent also get locked up for 120 days?
No,
Why?
not because these are two, like these are two. Yeah, the parent who went to the police and said this is what's going on shouldn't get no jail time if
Okay,
their
now
child was given
again,
jail
all this is
time.
technical because technically you helped to distribute said porn when you took it to the police station. You also gave the child who was the initial person charged the means to make said porn because you bought the file. Would that not make you an accessory to said crime? Technically,
Yeah, it would. It would. If you put it, yeah, when you put it that, yeah, it would. But
you see why I say this is a
it's,
slippery slope now.
hmm
So
that's
yeah,
why I say, my initial answer is like depends on what the crime is because they're like he was being curious, right? He ain't never. I mean, I'm sure if his dad or his older brother may have girly magazines, so you've seen girly magazines, so you know what a woman looks like. But when it's somebody your age, that's different. You don't see magazines with somebody your age naked. So when you like somebody, you like, oh, you think of, what if I could get her to show me her her stuff like those girls in the girly magazines. You get that in your head. As a young boy, you get that in your head, and you say it, and they go, "Well, I like you too," and they do it.
right.
They're not
Understand,
knowing that.
and
Them
looking
two is not
into that
knowing that
further,
it's.
I found out that basically if you have any picture in your phone where that individual is undressed and that individual is under the age of 18, that is technically child pornography. It could be something as innocent as you taking a picture of your little baby's butt in the tub. That baby was naked, that's child pornography. technically.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let me give you
But you
another.
know,
Let me give you another example. There's a parent who has given their child permission to have their girlfriend sleep over with them on a regular basis. That parent has the understanding that those two young people are having sexual intercourse. The reason why it's okay with said parent is because she has established with both of them if you are going to be sexually active, you are going to be safe. You are going to be on birth control and you are going to use condoms. And we all agree to this, right? Yes. Now, in this particular person's state, the legal age of consent is 16. Okay.
hmm
The boyfriend is currently 17. The girlfriend is 16, as in just turned 16. All right. They didn't been
hmm
boyfriend and girlfriend since they was little kids. That's the other reason why the parent don't have an issue with this, because she feel like they're gonna get married one day, etc., etc. Now, the neighbor finds out that this is going on in that household and reports it to the police. The child is charged, as in the older boyfriend charged, with statutory rape, even though he is technically having sex with someone who is consenting to have sex with him. But because she was not old enough to allow that consent, that is why he is charged with a crime. However, the parent who has given him permission to do such things in her household was not charged with a crime. Your thoughts on that? Oh,
oh crap, what just
all right, hold
happened?
on. We done lost road, y'all. Hold on a second. Okay, we are discussing the topic of should parents do time if their child has a crime in which they've committed and they in turn get time for said crime. And what me and Ro both have said is that it depends on what the crime is. It varies based on what situation is. And as I am explaining in a couple examples, there are a couple examples that kind of ride that slippery slope as to whether or not the parent should be charged or not. Okay, we do have a comment. Queen Gemini checking in. She says, I would say, who called the police? In this scenario, the next door neighbor called the police, Queen. She reported that the young man was sleeping over with his girlfriend. Even though both, I should point out that yes, his parent consented to this as well. So both parents of both children know that these two young people are sleeping together and they are having sex, but they have no issue with it because they in turn know that both kids are having protected sex, where the child that is the female is on birth control and the young man is having sex with her with a condom. Okay, so as we are waiting for Ro to come back on the air here, that is the question we have asked. Should you, the parent, also get time for doing a crime? Last week, one of the school shooters, I believe that was in Texas that happened, was convicted of a crime of killing his classmates and was given life without parole. A couple days later, his father, who basically bought the gun and owned the gun that committed the crime, was also given 15 years, I believe it is, for that crime. That establishes him as being the second parent, well, actually the third parent, to be convicted of a crime that their child committed based on their responsibility for said crime. So the question we ask is when any child goes to jail for any type of crime, regardless of what it is, should the parent automatically get time themselves? And me and Ro both agreed that it depends on what that crime is. Basically, if your child is a thief and they are a repeat offender and they end up going to juvie for say 90 days, I don't necessarily think that that parent should also get some time because your child is a thiefy thief. Okay, in the end, you can establish with your child, look, it's wrong to steal. Please stop stealing. But if that kid continues to steal to the point to where they get convicted and go to juvie, I feel like that's on them. However, if your child is the school shooter and you done bought that kid the gun and showed them how to use the gun and said use it to protect yourself and basically guided them in a way that helped to lead to the school shooting, then yeah, I think you guys to do a little time with them. Okay, Queen is saying the parents are fine with it. Okay, I would kick the neighbors. Hey, some people need to learn to mind their own business. Understand, as parents, you are entitled to raise your child the way you see fit under the guidance of the law. Okay? Okay, I think we got rolled back now.
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but I lost signal.
All right, Ro, we got about 3 minutes. You can finish your commentary on that there before we go and call it a day.
So, like we all the topics we talk about, we just speaking freely, giving our opinion, and it depends on the crime if said parent should do time for what their child has done. Because it got me to thinking, like, if your child raped someone, as a parent, should you go to jail because your child raped someone? You didn't know your child was going to do that. They, you didn't know.
Again,
So in
I
that
feel
case,
like
I
it
would say,
depends. Let's just say that the rape that took place by your child was a anal rape. Okay, hopefully I don't trigger nothing in the system. Um, and basically they learned how to do that because they watch you do it to somebody. So when they say, "Why you do that girl like that?" you say, "I learned that from daddy." Do you now do time because your kid learned how to do this technically from you?
but when it comes to sex, no parent is letting their kids watch them unless you got some screws loose. That's the only way I could see a parent letting their child watch them. But if you're having conversation and you're telling, let's say it's a father telling his homeboy, yeah, I was with Sally the other day and we did this and that, and the son is overhearing it, he don't that's not teaching him. He's overhearing the conversation. It's not like the father's giving step by step directions of how to do it. He's doing is the child is doing is hearing a conversation. So said parent shouldn't go to jail because the child decides to go and do that when he's hearing a conversation.
I agree. Okay, now, like I said, we got quick minutes. So, uh, you're doing your show tomorrow, correct? Do we have a guest? What's
Yes.
going on? Let us know what's going on.
There's no guest for tomorrow unless I would say if I get but if I can get to someone and during the afternoon to come on the show, I will definitely let the people know that we will be having a guest. If we'll
All
be
right,
having a
bro.
guest.
We give you till 1 o'clock p.m. to determine that, so we can properly get everything set up. So, tomorrow we have the show known as the Indie Experience. We have a guest. We will let you guys know. If not, then the plan B is what, Rose?
We'll do a bonus speaking freely.
And that will consist of what, Rod?
Doing the same, talking different topics as always, and you can participate in these topics and share topics with us that we can discuss to give our opinion. You give your opinion. That's you know, it doesn't always have to be me coming up with topics. If you like the show and you say, "Oh, I got a great topic that you can talk about on the show," you can send your topics to E, and E will let me know we got topics. We'll discuss them. If you
All
want
right.
people to look,
I just got a message from someone. They say they have a topic. They will send it to me later. And I still had a one other topic that I didn't tell you from earlier. So perhaps we'll do those two tomorrow if we end up doing the bonus speaking freely. We will let you know in our stories and whatnot. So okay, guys, we got to go. Brother got to take his medicine and get his scrub on all that good stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Remember, if you are checking and seeing this after its original broadcast and want to comment, please do so, and we will get back to your comments in the comments at that time. Rogue
yeah.
on and end us out, baby.
So I appreciate y'all for always tuning in to Speaking Freely with Ms Gigo. Like I said, if you got a topic, you got a what would you do moment, you can always hit me up on the Road to Starting page on Facebook, and you can put your mess. You can send your question there. You can hit E up because I know a lot of you follow him more than you follow me. You can hit him up with your question. You let him know if it's just a topic or if it's a what would you do question. That way you can discuss on the show. I appreciate you as always. I'm gonna say peace, one love. I'll see you at the next show with more great topics.
I love speaking freely so the masses can hear what I have to say about different topics that plague my mind every day.